Welcome back to this section on the file system. Up to this point, we've talked about the file system as it were some magical hidden thing that we're going to learn about later. Well, later's finally here, and in this section we're going to cover file names, file navigation, libraries, directories, folders, and how to create those all-important launch icons. Now, as you know, I run on a Windows-based system, so I'll be managing my file system through the File Explorer application. Those of you on Macs will use the Finder application. What's the difference? There is none. The launch icons are different, and that's about the full extent. Okay, one more thing before we move on, and that's opening multiple simultaneous windows. First thing you need to know about having multiple windows open at the same time is that you can have as many as you'd like. The only limiting factors are the actual physical geography of your monitor or monitors, size of your CPU, and the amount of RAM you have. I, for one, always have an external monitor connected when I'm at home, sort of my monitor security blanket, if you will. For example, right now I have Word running on my built-in monitor of my laptop, whereas on my external monitor I have File Explorer open for this demo, my video capture software running to capture all this going on, and also Adobe Photoshop to touch up this image that we're about to display that shows my extended monitor environment. Really, it's all just one big happy monitor environment, a multi-application environment, all running nicely together. And interestingly enough, all that's working on an i3 box with only 4 gig of RAM. If I were to turn on my video editing software right now, please understand that everything would start falling apart because I simply am not running a big enough box to handle all that at one time. Next, sizing windows on your screen. You can have windows open across the entire screen, open across a part of the screen, or minimized down here in the taskbar. This particular icon toggles between full and partial screen. Once you're in partial screen mode, you can resize a window by grabbing it in one of the corners with your left button and just dragging to the new size you desire. To minimize, you click this little icon, and to reinitiate a minimized window, you simply double click it down here in the taskbar. Very easy stuff. All right, let's start looking at some files in the File Explorer application. If I start here by clicking on my Documents folder, I find a whole long list of subfolders or directories and a bunch of files. I can navigate down the directory tree by simply double-clicking on any folder. To navigate back up the tree, I click up here in the breadcrumb trail, which is very hard to say, to the folder I want. You can change the sort order of the files and folders by clicking on the top of any of the column headers. By coming up here to the View tab, I can switch between Preview and Properties View with these icons. I can then change between file views by clicking these icons here. I'm old school, so I will go back to the Details view where I can get my sort options and I can see file types again. Next, let's create a new folder. To do this, we simply right-click anywhere in a folder and select New and then Folder. Give the folder a meaningful name and double-click it to open. Hey, by the way, did you catch the folder name? That's Geek Humor. Next, to move a file into your new folder, simply click on it and drag it into the folder. Next, let's go ahead and delete this file by right-clicking and selecting Delete. Alternatively, I could have selected the file and just hit the Delete key. Now, invariably, as soon as you delete a file, you recall why you really needed it in the first place. So let's go back to the desktop and restore this thing out of our recycle bin. Right-click on the file and then select the Restore option like this. Okay, let's clean all this stuff up here now before I leave my box in an untidy state.
Gotta be neat, you know. Next, let's learn how to search File Explorer for a specific file. Apparently, I have just over 6,000 files in my Documents folder. I was able to determine that number by selecting my Documents folder, right-clicking, and selecting the Properties menu option. Nice, lots of good stuff in here. Note, besides the number of files, one other important factor is the Directory Attributes option. The chase, if you've got a real important document that you don't ever want to modify, just mark it as read-only. And going forward, nobody, including yourself, can change that file unless you come in here and toggle that thing back off again. Nice way to keep yourself from messing up accidentally. Anyway, for the sake of an example, we just finished NCAA March Madness here in the United States. It's a huge basketball tournament for all the big-name colleges. Now, I may have had a small, yet very innocent wager on the game, so let's go see if we can find my bracket, see how I did. Now, finding my 2016 March Madness bracket among some 6,000 files could be tough, even with a very good file naming system. So let's do it the smart way with a search. Oh, okay, there it is. And did you notice how File Explorer knew it was an Excel spreadsheet and indicated as such with the Excel launch icon? Just a simple double click on that file name and I'd have been reviewing my bracket. And no, I'm not going to do it here in front of the whole world, but I did lose. By the way, I'm a huge Wisconsin Badgers fan, and my boys did pretty well this year despite a very young team. Y'all best look out next year because we're coming. Now, before we move on, I need to take just 1 minute and describe the Windows public versus private libraries. Mac users, this is very similar to your concept of public folders, so stay tuned because this applies to you too. First off, Windows libraries can generally be found through a folder on the desktop. But if should that have been deleted, you can then find them in File Explorer by toggling this switch in the View tab. Second, Windows libraries are nothing more than standard name folders for music, photos, videos, and documents. The big difference from regular folders you might have created yourself is that these libraries bring together multiple regular folders into a single location for common searching. By default, they bring together your private and public music, photo, video, and document folders. But why public and private folders in the first place? Well, it's because officially, the Windows and Mac operating systems are multi-user operating systems. When you log into your box with your username and password, you are actually logging into your private portion of the operating systems. All the files you put into your private folders are supposed to be hidden from anybody else logging onto that same box with a different username and password. All files you put into the public folders are shared with all the other users set up to log onto your box. Here's the user's account page in Control Panel where you could set up additional users on a box. Next, if you have anybody close to a computer geek in the house, then this is all nonsense, because any junior programmer can quickly get around these trivial private-public things and see anything they wish across the entire box. What's the chase on security within the Windows and Mac operating systems? You want security on your files? Keep that box physically away from anybody else. Fourth, and very unfortunately, some software applications default to your private folders while others default to the public. I think it's particularly true with respect to music, video, and picture applications. One vendor is pushing their files to the public and the next to the private. Net, you think you're sticking your files in one location where in reality you're actually saving them somewhere else. Big problem. Bottom line, if all this confuses the heck out of you, and for a lot of you it's going to because it's just crazy, remember to look in both places when you're searching for a file. Easiest way to do that, search the corresponding library, which references both locations. Sorry, gang. Public versus private folders was not my idea. I just got stuck here trying to explain it after the fact. Next, let's move on to some smart naming conventions. First off, with just standard documents like Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, you're kind of just stuck with naming them intuitively so you can find them later. I use a directory tree based on topic area. For example, here in my Documents directory, you see a bunch of folders relating to the various important topics in my life. Margaret Memories and a Wisconsin football fan are books I've written. If we open up the A Wisconsin Football Fan folder, we see additional folders for each of the chapters, figures, and images. Click on the chapters folder, and sure enough, there are the 10 chapters of my book. Guess what's in the published version? Yup, a couple of different releases and an ebook. Similarly, if we jump over to the figures folder, we see another set of subfolders, again paralleling the chapters of the book. We look inside the championships folder and we see all the figures I used for that chapter in my book. Chase, only you know what represents an intelligent filing name system for your documents folder. But pick one which works for you and about what is important in your life, and then stick with it so you can quickly and easily find stuff later on. The music folder is a lot easier to organize. Mine is done by artist and then album, with all the real stuff in the public folder and one-offs in my private. Here we see my beloved Meatloaf stuff. Better listen to some storytellers today. Probably been several days and I need a regular fix. One bad thing about this method of organizing your music. Occasionally you're going to borrow, double quotes, some music off a friend's CD. Often this music is not recognized by your music ripping software. Yeah, that's the verb they use for copying music off a CD onto your laptop. When your ripping software doesn't recognize the artist or album, you get an unknown artist, unknown album label, and you need to manually go in and rename every file. Sorry, again, I didn't write this software, so don't blame me. Just something you need to know about. Photos are even easier. As I mentioned earlier, my laptop is now home to slightly more than 24,000 home photos. The primary copy of each of these photos is stored in the Pictures library. When I use a copy of a photo for a book or one of these sections, I also keep a copy in the appropriate Images folder for easy access. Anyway, back to the Pictures library. I keep a few personal pics in my private folder, but nearly all of our family stuff is in the public library. To keep 24K plus photos all straight without a smart naming convention would be flat out impossible. We use a date-based strategy to keep ours organized. For example, all the photos from 2015 are stored in folders which start with 2015 and then the number and name of the month. Check it out. 2015 3 March is located immediately prior to 2015 4 April, which immediately precedes 2015 5 May. All your 2015 5 May pictures are stored in the 2015 5 May folder. Ta-da! They sort perfectly and are very easy to find. All you need to know is the approximate date on which you took the shot. Downside to this strategy, finding a photo without knowing the approximate date you took it is hard because digital cameras name their files oddly, as you can see here. Upside, there's all kinds of software which will help you tag photos and then do smart searches. But man, what a hassle if you have 24K photos. It'd be a tagging nightmare. In previous sections, we talked about launching the Word, Excel, and PowerPoint applications by clicking on the appropriate shortcut, also known as a launch icon. Well, you are now finally ready to learn how to create and organize those shortcuts. I suggest that all your shortcuts live in a single directory, so let's go ahead and create a new folder in the Documents directory called My Toolbar. Next, I want you to right-click on the taskbar area and select the Toolbars option like this. Go ahead and select the New Toolbar menu option. Navigate to and then select your new My Toolbar folder as the source location for your new toolbar. Now let's add a launch shortcut to your new toolbar. When you download and install new software, it's almost always asks you if you would like to add a launch icon to your desktop. Go ahead and say yes to that prompt. But let's not let all those icons build up and get lost on your desktop. Instead, let's put them in my new toolbar by simply opening File Explorer and drag the shortcut into your My Toolbar folder. Alternatively, you can right-click in the My Toolbar folder and create a new shortcut right there. Note, however, If you use this method, you need to know where the actual software application is located on your hard drive. Hint, all of them will be located on drive C, that's your hard drive, and 95% of those will be located in the Program Files or Program Files 86 folder. Just do some hunting by the vendor and application name and you'll find it. Finally, shortcuts can point to more than just applications. For example, you might have a special Excel file located in your Documents directory which you use nearly every day to keep your home budget. Create a shortcut to it and then add that shortcut to your My Toolbar folder. Now you don't need to search every day, it'll be right there at your fingertips. Before we finish, let me show you how I display all these beautiful grandbaby pictures on my laptop and extended monitor. You now know how to create a new folder and move copies of your favorite photos into it, so go ahead and start there. Then go to the desktop and right-click, choosing the Personalize option. Now just create a slideshow of all the photos in your new folder and you're ready to go.
All right, that wraps up our discussion of the file system. I hope you enjoyed, and let's review what we learned. First, we learned about application windows, how you can have multiple windows open at the same time, and in addition, how you can resize them to meet your specific needs. Next, we started working in File Explorer, learning how to navigate up and down directory trees or folder trees, the terminology's equivalent. We then looked at File Explorer's search functions and how these functions can make it much easier for you to find a specific file. Next, we moved into file naming conventions, wherein I suggested for your Documents folder, you really need to make those decisions based on what's important in your life. Divide the world up into a hierarchy of directories or folders based on the specific needs of a particular topic. We looked at some of my books and how they break up into chapters and images and figures for chapters. And in a similar fashion, if we had looked at the content for this particular course, you'd have found each course broken out, then each section within each course, the videos within each section, the images within each section. It's all very logical and has meaning to me. And as such, I can keep my Documents folder organized according to those strategies. The music folder is a lot easier. We simply go with an artist by album by song strategy. Everything sorts easily. Everything's very easy to find. Photos in a similar strategy. A way to keep things straight is to actually start each folder name with a series of numbers. We use the year 2016, the month number 4 for April, and then the name April 2016 for April. And if we have additional specific information that we want, we include that in the folder name. For example, if there was a special event, a marriage or something like that, we'd include that at the end so we can search on those things and find them quickly. The strategy being you want things to sort in a logical fashion. If you use the numbering system for dates, those sort nicely. Remember, we talked briefly about Microsoft's libraries and how they really bring together the private and public folders for every user of a specific laptop. And then you'll recall we concluded our discussion with a look at how to create launch icons. Actually very simple. We simply right click and say new shortcut and then point it at the file that we want to launch. Alternatively, we create a new toolbar and we simply drag the shortcuts that were created via a download into that directory, and voila, we're moving forward. We concluded our discussion with a look at how to personalize your screensavers. Real easy, right click on the desktop and just follow the personalize menu option. It's real easy to do. Okay, that concludes our discussion of the file system. I hope you enjoyed. I certainly did. Remember, keep on learning, and I'll see you in the next section.